Welcome back, guys, to another live stream. My name's Mike, aka Decimal Punked, and we are back in Unity 6.0. The version we're using is 6000.0.58F2. Last stream we modelled our 5 assets. They look slightly faded in here for some strange reason, but I think that's because there's no lights on them. However, I'm very, very happy with the modelling of them. I think they look freaking awesome, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting these in the game. So the last stream, if I show you the loot manager, it functions, it works. It looks a bit crazy at first glance, but it's really not. It's fairly straightforward. This all handles the dice rolls of the loot drops. So what we're going to do is we're going to create prefabs of our items, and we're going to give them a rigid body, and we're going to give them a collision trigger because we want the player to walk over them and pick them up. I'm not gonna. I've played a lot of RPGs in my time, and there's lots of different ways to play. So if you think of Diablo 2, for example, I'm talking the original. When you ran around, you'd automatically pick up gold. Well, I think that was actually introduced in a remastered version, but yeah, you'd go around, you'd collect gold, and then when it came to the loot, you'd hold down Alt and you would left click to pick up what you wanted. For the time being, I'm going to have it so when you walk over the loot, it's automatically collected in your bag. It's a tricky one because my game isn't point and click. It's more third person, so that kind of UI side of it, it's a little bit different. So for the time being, I'm going to implement it so you can run over the loot and you collect it and it will go into your bag. If I want to change how that functions, so if the player is looking at the floor, you know, we could do like ray casts or line casts and look at the loot, and then you can decide what you want to pick up, what you want to leave. So, you know, I haven't done that in Unity before, but it's potentially, I think the coins should automatically be picked up and go to the bag. And then as for the other loot, if you look at it and you like the look of it, if you were to press E, you would collect it and add it to your bag. So that's something I can look into, because I quite like the idea of when you're looking at the loot, there's like a little UI panel with its name or what the loot is, similar to how the health bar functions on the skeletons, where it always faces towards the player's camera. So we could get something similar to that. I can test it, see how it looks. So essentially, we're going to drop the loot, automatically pick up the coins, and then as for the gems, we'll leave those on the floor, because I've not yet sorted the inventory or planned it or looked into how to program that. So I'm going to stop waffling. I do apologise. I just like to explain things and what I'm doing. So we need to create prefabs of these. So how can we... What's prefab variant? What is a prefab variant? Because... Okay. So I've done prefabs before in a different thing. So if I drop that in there, bone stack, and then if we give this a sphere collider, and 7. I know that the skeletons are like the same size as the player. So I'm just trying to think of the radius. Let's go 0.8. So basically, this radius is going to be when the player is within that radius, they'll pick up the loot. I might go see how 1 looks, because if I'm going to implement something that if the player's looking at the loot, we want that to happen whilst they're in the trigger. If they stay in the trigger, then we will show the like a loot UI that says you're looking at this item. Do you want to pick it up? And then you press E and you'll pick it up, because E is the interact button. So I feel like that's the I feel like that's a sensible option. 1 feels like a decent size radius, and we're going to say that's a trigger. So the players will be able to pass through that. So is a trigger, sphere collider, do I need to give it a script? If the player walks over it, I guess it would. So it's got the name, game object name. See, I don't want to do loads and loads and loads of tags. I'm just wondering if there's a way. Welcome to the stream, guys. I'm just thinking, is there a way that we can let me just have a quick look, because what I need, if I'm going to make a prefab of this, I need to make sure that I've got everything I need on here before I make it into a prefab. So let me just check. Just for the time being, we're going to go into the Loot Manager script graph, and we're just going to check. Get name, find name, finds and returns the name or hierarchy path. Get name, and the name of the object, get the name. So we could have something to say get name. So when in the trigger, when we enter that trigger, I'm just trying to think if there's a way that we can handle the loot being picked up. or else I'm going to have a lot of scripts for like different loot. So I'm wondering if we had one script for loot. If we had one script graph for loot, we can handle it by get the name. So it would basically be a huge script graph with all the different names. So when the player enters the trigger, because at the moment this loot manager handles the spawning of the loot. I think we should have another manager that handles collection manager, maybe. So if the player collides with it, because then, just trying to think, guys, just bear with me. If the player collides with it, so if we added something onto the object variable, because at the moment these are custom events. The loot manager is custom events, so the code won't affect that. Or the other, I'm just trying to think what the most efficient way of doing this is. Are we going to have a script for every single item in the game? Like that would be a lot of scripts in the folder. Whereas if we had one big script that handled the loot, this handles spawning the loot. I think what we should do is rename this description. So handles the loot. Handles loot spawning. Handles loot spawning from enemies. If we had if we had one for collection manager, and gave that script to each enemy, then what we can do is within that one script we can have essentially a block for each item to say like on trigger enter get name of object, and then if name is bone, you would basically go to the bone section and then you would add bone to inventory. So I think that's the best way of doing this. I think. I think. Yeah, let's just go with that. Okay, alright, let's just do it. So bone stack, I'm not going to add it just yet. What we're going to do is hold on a second, guys. Let me just think this through. Let me just think this for a second. bone stack. No, it would need to be a constant. Because then that object would have the variable from that object would then have the variable from the script, which would say the references. Sorry, I'm going a bit blank. I don't know if it's because I'm tired. So collection manager is basically do we need to give that a variable? Do we need to give that a variable? If we've given that script, if we give that script no, that would work. So the collection the collection manager is going to handle all of the interactions from the loot the loot manager creates the loot. It spawns it from the enemies. That's manager's purpose. The collection manager handles the player interacting with that spawned loot. And in here we can have stuff to say on trigger enter, and then you would have a thing to check, you know, if the name is this, then do that. What all different things do you plan to have the items do? What all different things do you plan to have the items do? Well, at the moment, we've only got the one enemy. We've got the one enemy, and the loot that it spawns is basically wealth generation. So the gems can be sold, the coins accumulated, the bones. I don't want to rip off RuneScape's prayer mechanic and skill, so maybe you could craft like some bone arrows with them. So I need to make a big list of because we've only got this one enemy. I mean, I know we've got the cultists, but they won't drop any loot. I don't intend to add loot drops from them. They're quest related enemies. So as I add more monsters, more loot will be introduced to the game. But as we're building from the ground up here, like we've got the core game, and we're implementing items at the moment. I'd like to get a vendor, so like a merchant, where you can sell the materials you've gathered for money. And I want to create like a bank or a storage place where the player can deposit the items they've accumulated. So there's lots of stuff to do there. But for the time being, the items we're putting into the game their purpose is to generate wealth for the player. But the gems could be used, you know, in jewelry that could have certain benefits. This is something that I'll need to plan. I'll need to go through and create a plan. But there's different stages because we've got an inventory to do, we've got a merchant to do, and then we've got a bank storage to do. These are things I've never done before, so I don't want to just rush in and start doing lots of different things. I'd rather focus on one mechanic and feature at a time and build from there. Make sure that everything functions as it should, you know, problem free. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, dude. Right, so collection manager. So I don't need to put anything in there for the time being. If we go back to the bone stack, which is going to be our first prefab, we have the name bone stack, and we know that there's a node for getting the name of the game object, so we can do an if statement to check on enter trigger, get the name of the game object, and then we can basically have that branch off you know, into a list. Like, again, something else I've not done before, lists. Like, essentially we'd need like a big dictionary or something that contains all of the game objects, you know, things, names. Let me just check my sugars. I'm wondering if my sugars are low. No, they're not. 5.5, that's very good. Excellent. Okay, so a simple sphere collider with a trigger. So that is the trigger, which means we'll be able to walk through it. And then we're going to need a rigid body. Awen, you mentioned about a rigid body force, didn't you? Okay, so we give it a rigid body. Get the rigid body of that. Okay, so in the code for the loot manager, when we spawn this item, we'd need to give it force. It would need a collider as well for the rigid body. I've got the sphere collider on there. So you're saying with it, hold on. Let me just see what happens if we do unfocused. Right, it's just fallen through the world. if I give it a box collider, now with that being a box collider, that's going to make it stay. But if the skeletons walk over that... Ah, that's interesting. So the skeletons could walk straight through that. Yeah, that's the non-trigger then. And that's quite nice because it's perfectly to shape. I'm a little bit concerned that if I was to walk over that, I'm pretty sure that if I walked into that, I would walk on top of it. So can I exclude the character layer? If I exclude the character layer, that will allow me to pass through it, won't it? Because I don't want to be walking on top of the loot. That will look daft. Watch. Yeah, you see. Oh, hello, boys. Hello, boys. Layer overrides. Exclude. Huh. Okay. Let's exclude characters. So if we exclude characters, that means we should be able to pass through it, right? Let's just check. Oh, you bastards. Whoa! Okay, yeah, I'm standing in it. Okay, perfect. So we got a topaz and an emerald. Okay. So that worked nicely. So the sphere collider is going to handle the player's interaction with that item. The rigid body will allow us to add force, and the box collider here will make sure it doesn't fall through the world. So we do now need to give it the collection manager script, because when the player interacts with that, we need it to be handled within that script. So if I choose, what was it called? Collection. Okay, right. I think that's now ready for me to make a prefab. And there it is. Okay, so now I should be able to delete the bone stack. But I'm not going to do that just yet because I want to put in the other models. So I'm going to put in coin stack. Now coin stack is going to have the same. So we're going to copy the sphere collider. We're going to copy the rigid body. Copy box collider. That's quite big, that is. Perfect. Okay, so the bone stack is there. The coin stack is there. The reason why I fine-tuned that box, guys, is because I believe if we add the force, if that box was a lot larger like it originally was, then it would make the coins... I think the edges of that box collider would be what interacts with the world and any bouncing physics I might add. So by having the trigger box closely fitted to the object, that should interact better. So we've got the box collider on there, and then we're gonna put on the script machine. There we go. Right, I believe that's that one done. Ugh! Okay, so that's the bones and the coins. Right, so now we just repeat this for the 3 gems. We'll start with the topaz. Have a sip of my coffee, guys. Hope you're enjoying the stream. So we'll do the same again. We'll go through step by step, copy the components. So the first one is the sphere collider, which is going to handle the player interacting with the object. We're then going to put on the rigid body. And then the box collider. Let me just remove that and see what happens. Oh, perfect. It's actually made it to the size of the model. I think because I copied the box from that one, which is why it was the same size as that one, whereas that's done that perfectly to shape. Actually, hold on. Box collider. Exclude characters. If I think that's all good. Sphere collider for the trigger, rigid body so we can make it bounce, box collider so it doesn't fall through the game, and then the collection manager. So if I just delete the coin stack prefab, and then if I remove the box collider, There we go, that's much better. You see that's perfectly to shape now. Exclude characters. There we go. Okay. So the box collider is there. Exclude, so exclude character, exclude characters, exclude characters, exclude characters. Okay, now we just need to repeat this 2 more times. We'll go for emerald next. So we're copying the sphere collider. We are copying the rigid body. And then we need to give it a box collider. Look at that, perfect. Exclude characters. After the box collider, it's the script machine. Sphere collider, rigid body, box collider, script machine. Look at that, it's got a perfectly sized cube, perfectly set to the size of the model. Going to prefabs, loot. Drag the emerald into there, and now it's the blood ruby. Okay, so same again. Sphere collider first. Rigid body. Box collider. Excluding the characters. If we didn't do that, then our character would be walking on top of the loop, which we don't want to happen. Box collider, and after the box collider, it's the script manager. And there we have it. Jolly good show, old chap. So, sphere collider, rigid body, box collider. And if we just play that, all of those items will stay there. Perfect. Okay, so if we go to our prefab folder, we'll drag blood ruby on there. So we have our bone stack, coin stack, blood ruby, emerald, and topaz. So now what we can do is we can delete those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I always get paranoid of deleting things. Okay, so now what we do is there's going to be 2 steps to this, guys. What we're going to do first is we're going to make sure that the loot spawns when the monster's killed. So we're going to instantiate the game objects using those prefabs. Once we've got that working, we will then go into the collection manager and we will make the coin one disappear when the player walks into it, and we will add to the player's wealth. So oh shit, I forgot to add a variable. No, hold on. No, sorry, apologies. No, we just add the integer to the scene variable, which is going to be the player wealth. So let's just quickly go on to this one, scene, and we're going to have one called player gold. And it's going to be an integer. And I'm just going to move that right up the top with all the other ones. There we go. Okay, so now that we have our prefabs in this folder, we're going to go into the loot manager where we were working in earlier. So when we kill a skeleton, we are instantiating bone. Ooh. I'm assuming it's this one because that's that cube prefab. Yeah, there we go. Look. Bone stack FBX. Bone stack FBX. What is that? Yeah, bone stack prefab. So we can delete that one. We can delete that one. Plug that one. Why is, oh, I was just going to say, why is the music stopped? Right, so now what we need to do is we need to make spawn vector. Okay, so what I said earlier was set the spawn vector, the spawn loot vector to loot manager, trigger that. God, we're going to have to extend it even more, guys. So what we're doing here is we're setting the scene variable. So when the player has killed the skeleton, we're basically saying, okay, you've killed me. Now tell the loot manager that this is the position that we're going to spawn the loot at. That is this purpose right here. And then directly after that, we then trigger the loot drop. Okay. And so we set the scene variable to the position of this skeleton, and then we trigger that event. So then within the code of the loot manager here, we're getting the spawn loot vector, and when we instantiate the game object, it's spawning at that, which is why it's important to tell the system that now. Now the next step we need to do is the rigid body. So we're going to want rigid body add force. So we want to what about explosion force? I wonder what would be best, because we don't want it to always, we don't want all the items to just kind of all go up in the exact same position, like from ground level to directly upwards. We want to have it so that they, you know, it will kind of go within a certain radius, like a random, it needs to be random. I mean, the explosion one sounds fun. So spawn a bone stack at its location. Get the position of the bone stack and then do that. I guess we can test this and just see how it looks. I don't know how this is gonna look, guys. This could be quite hilarious. I mean, explosion force sounds the right kind of thing I'm after. We will find out. That didn't really seem to... Let's go 5. I've not used this before, so we'll just go trial and error this. What I should be able to do, if I played focus, I should be able to adjust those. Okay, what we'll do is if we play focused, I should be able to adjust those variables. So if I do 5 on there, let's see how that looks. So we've got 4 skellies to play with. Oh, the rotation, it needs to be a random. Right, we should have the loot random because they're all appearing in the same thing. So, okay. Quaternion. Maybe this explosion force is the wrong... I don't really know what them... So the Y is the vertical. Let's see if that works. So what that should do is randomize the rotation on the bones. So if we just test that. Welcome to the stream, guys. Willkommen, guten Tag, hola, hello. Oh, baby! The bone's a different position. Perfect. Oh, I like that. It's actually at a funny angle there. Look at that. It's actually dropped at an angle to the environment. That's fantastic. And you can see there. See the position of that one? If we just bait this one. You see the bones are spawning at a random point. Now, if I just put this as 50, I was seriously expecting. Oh, that kind of worked. Did you see that? Watch. It actually. Right, let's put that to 10. That actually made the loot actually look like it would shoot upwards. Oh, dude. Okay, if we up the explosion force to 200. I just want to... I know the effect I'm after. Come on, Skellies. Oh, that's perfect. Did you see that? And you can see the rotation. The bones are different. Oh my god, that looks so cool. We got loot drop, baby! We got loot drop. Ugh. Oh, that looks cool. Oh shit, that one went through the floor. Oh dear. That shouldn't have happened. I'm gonna change the upwards modifier to 30. This is the great thing about being able to adjust the variables whilst you're playing. You can test and change and see the direct. Oh, that worked nicely. So the upwards modifier, if we put that at 100, that should go really high. Come on, Skellies. It's quite hard knowing the explosion radius, but I think the best one is this. The explosion force. This seems to be... Holy shit, that went so high! It went so high! Oh my god! That's the effect that I want though. And look, the bones are all random positions. That's too high. That is way too high. Let's do 250. That is such a nice effect. Look at all the loot, guys. It's a loot fest. It's like Diablo 2. Loot fest. Oh, I love it. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. And then what we would want is a kind of decay timer. So if the player doesn't collect the loot in time, it should disappear, or else it's going to clutter the world. Or at the moment I could leave it there and then, yeah, that works really, really nice. Now that's so much fun, guys. That is so much fun. Okay, so this one here creates that random position of the bones. So this quaternion will need to get plugged into the other instantiated things. I'm going to have a look at rigid body explosion because I just have a feeling So why is the vertical X and Y are the ground axes? So I'm wondering what would happen if we added a bit of random force. Because what we want is we want the loot. We don't want all the loot that spawns to kind of stack on top of each other. It would be nice for it to kind of ever so slightly be spaced apart. So, you know, there's so it looks nice. So I'm going to experiment here. Add relative force. So these are these float inputs. Float, yeah, okay, all right. So add relative force. So the reason why I keep checking the axes, guys, is because in Blender, Z is the vertical, whereas in Unity, Y is the vertical. So this is what happens when you work in different engines. Okay, so this is random float. So what we'll do is if we say, I don't know, between 0 and 1, add relative force to that. On the X and the Z. And we'll see what that does. We'll see what that does, shall we, guys? Oh my god. I'm excited. Nervous at the same time. Let's just bring this up. So what we're hoping for is that this randomness will hopefully move the loot from its static vertical position. Welcome to the stream, guys. Feel free to comment any questions. Let's see what that does. 5 and 25. Oh! Oh, that was interesting. That was interesting. That feels like it's... Okay, I think I've got my random position there. Because we've added the relative force, that does look like it is actually moving it. You know what I'm going to do? Just for testing, I'm going to put this to 15 and see if that makes an impact, because I don't know at the moment the dice rules. I guess we're gonna get a true factor for this when we add in the coin spawn, because at the moment we've only got the bones that we're going by as a gauge. So when we add in the coins, we will then be able to see, oh, okay, it is actually kind of moving the objects apart. That's the whole objective here. Okay. Okay, right. We need to expand this. Jesus. Let's move this here. Move this back. Oh! Dude, oh my god, I need more room. Fudge cake. Alright, give me 1 sec, guys. I'm just gonna expand this because what I know how we can kind of make the code look a little bit tidier. Right, so we're going to grab these ones. Put that there. Right, so basically, this Euler, Quaternion, this is going to go into the other things because this one is basically redundant. We'll delete that in a second. So what we can now do to keep the code fairly easy to read, we're going to now bring down the coin instantiation. Set. Right, 1 second. So if I have this beneath, just like that, right, so we instantiate the game object, and this is going to be coin stack prefab. The rotation isn't going to be from that. The rotation is going to be from this. Parent is the loop manager. The position, where is the position coming from? Position is from spawn loop vector. Okay, cool. So then what we would do is we would connect that to that. shit, hold on a second. Ooh. One minute, we need to add an object. We do need to add an object variable to that. Yeah, that would need to have an object variable. Because the value of, you would get that variable. Yeah, okay. And then you would add it to the scene player gold. So basically we would need to say, okay, this coin stack that's just spawned, we need to tell it, okay, your value is this much. So we're gonna go into the coin stack prefab, and then we're gonna add a variable for value, and that's going to be an integer, so by default it's 0. Okay, so we've got value integer 0. Now if I go back to the loot manager, because you'll notice the coin stack, oh sorry, it shares the collection manager. It's got the collection manager, and it's got a variable, integer variable called value. So if I go on the collection manager, this doesn't have that. Okay, so right, so what we need to do is when we instantiate the coin stack, we roll to determine how much. What's that? Oh yeah. We roll to determine that. So get object variable from the coin stack, and the variable, guys, is value. So I'm going to copy that. I like to copy things and make sure there's no typos. So we're getting the value So we're getting the value of the coin stack, and hold on a minute. No, we don't need to do that, do we? We know it's 0. I don't think we do actually need to do that. I don't think we need to do a get, because we're literally setting it, set the object variable of the instantiated coin stack to the value from the dice roll. That is an integer, isn't it? Yes, random integer. So then we can get rid of that debug code. Oh, we also need to do this. So I'm just gonna put that. So we plug that into there. We add explosion force to that. Add relative force to that. Get the position of that. So coin stack 5 to 40, the value, get the position of that, relative force, and then we do the dice roll for instantiating the gem drop. So then what we need to do is going to have the similar thing. This is really exciting, guys, because once we've plugged in the prefabs for the gems, we're gonna watch like a literal loot explosion from the enemies. I'm really excited to see this. So this is the base. Yeah, so the only thing we're changing is the Quaternion. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually create a comment box here. And we're going to call this primary loot, and we'll give it a green, and then this is the rare loot. So okay, so we're going to need to add, oh my god, the Quaternion. That Quaternion needs to go into the rotation of these ones. So if I unplug that, and that's now redundant. Get rid of that. We can get rid of the 100% guaranteed sticky. And then we get this Euler Quaternion. And we're gonna zoom, and we're gonna plug that into the rotation over there. And down here, and then the last one. Okay. Right. I mean, to be fair, that could probably be extended to there. I think that's quite nice to read. So when you look at this at a glance, you're like, okay, this is the loot table for the Skelly. You've got the primary loot, and then this is it's gonna match the same color as my XL. So, you know, like you could have like ultra rare, drop chance. So going by our instantiated kind of steps, this is just an item. We're not setting the value of the coins like we are in this one, because in here we're basically defining how many coins the player will get. So you know that specific object needs to have a variable for telling us or the engine how much its value is. So now what we need to do, we need to basically copy these and after the instantiated, that's where we're going to do it. So get rid of those. Okay, so this one's for the blood ruby. Gem blood ruby prefab. And I think it's that simple. It should be that simple. This is going to be the fun bit, guys, when we test this and watch all the loot just explode. Oh. Ugh! Sorry. Sorry. Nice and tidy, sexy looking code. That's what we like. Okay. Right. I guess what we're going to do now is we're just going to test. We're going to do a test now. And the test is that when we're killing stuff, the coins and the bones should be going in different directions. They shouldn't be kind of landing on top of each other. Okay. This is this test that we're going to do right now. Let's do it. I'm excited. And then what we can do is once this bit has been done, we're going to go into the code for the collection manager. And that's where we're going to handle, if the player runs into the prefab of the coins, we're going to add it to the player's wealth. And we'll do a debug code to check that that's been done. Oh, baby! Yes! Oh my god, it dropped to topaz! Look, we got topaz! Dude, we got topaz! Oh no, the coins are at a funny angle. That's all good. Look at that though. The loot is literally... Oh no, the emerald! Why is it going through the floor? The bones! Okay. Alright, so a little bit of fine tuning there. Why are the coins going through the floor? Right, I think it's staying like that because it's a cube. The collider is a cube. So if it lands on its arse... I'm not sure why some of the items are kind of disappearing on the floor. Like if we just come out of there, you can see. You see what I mean? Can you see here? Because it's a square. It's that's why it's not sitting flat. So I'm just wondering, instead of the box collider, if we should put a sphere. I'm not sure why the objects are going through the floor when it's literally got that box collider. I mean, if we had a capsule collider. But I'll tell you what, guys, that is pretty fun. I think the coin's doing the same thing because it's a box. Oh my god, it's literally like a Diablo 2 loot fest. It's so fucking cool. I love it. It's so much fun. Oh my god, this is just what I wanted. It's a loot fest, a proper loot fest. If we had a capsule collider. That one dropped the topaz. I wonder if we can get an emerald. Oh wait, we did have an emerald, but it fell through the floor. I do think maybe a capsule collider would work better for stopping it from... We're getting a lot of topazes. That's 25% drop chance. What do you think, guys? Does this look fun? Look at the loot. We'd obviously have like a sound effect as well for the coins being collected. Now, there is a 1% chance for a blood ruby to drop. This is amazing. It's literally like Diablo 2. So we know that the rotation of those... Okay, what we're going to do... let me just check in here. Rigid body, add 4. So there's nothing in here where we're actually saying about the body. So what I might actually do, I might reduce the size of the coin one to 0.5. Now, where is it? Where is it? The box collider. So this is the thing that is basically making it Right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit hard to see, but that does have a capsule collider on it. So if I exclude characters, and then if we remove the box collider, because we know that that is, if that box collider is flipped from the explosion and it just happens to land on its side, we know that that's why the coins are stacking vertically. So swapping it out for a capsule collider should avoid that problem. So I'm just going to remove the box collider and we're going to just check that works nicely, and then if it does, we'll amend the colliders for the other prefabs as well. Oh fuck, it's rolling away. It's rolling away. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. The money's... Oh, oh, we got an emerald. I mean, you know what we could do? If we... Why? Freeze position on the Y. See, the square collider worked well. However, if it landed on its arse, on its side, it stays on its side. I'm just going to ask AI to quickly explain the different options on there, just so I have a quick understanding. Use a capsule collider. Decisions. So essentially we need that model like the square collider was good. Oh, freeze the rigid body's position. So if we froze the rigid body's position on the Y, so we stop the rigid body from No, what we want to do, you want to freeze the rotation on there. I'm happy for it to spin on the Y, which is the vertical axis, but we don't want that to rotate on the X or the Z. Angular, how quickly the rigid body loses angular velocity, affecting its rotation. Okay, so what we're going to do is if I had this as 5, so that was 0. We're going to, so we've frozen the rotation on the X and the Z, but we're allowing it to spin on the Y. So we're going to see if that stops it from moving. So those 2 tick boxes, and that was 0. Right, let's see if that makes an improvement. Interesting. Right, I think we need to play focused. I'm going to change that to 1. Let's see if that works, because we want it to move. But but we don't want it to roll, because what was happening before was it was spawning, but then it was just rolling all over the ground, and we don't want that. Oh, that's perfect. You see that, guys? That's perfect. It stays on the ground. Oh, we got an emerald. Topaz. Oh no! Why is it spinning? It's spinning! Is that one spinning as well? Okay, let me just have a read here. So, angular drag. How quickly the rigid body loses angular velocity, affecting its rotation. Let me just make a note here, guys. So we have linear, I'm just making a note, linear damping, default 0, angular damping, default 0.05. So I'm going to set that to 0.25. So let's try that. So by changing the angular damping, the linear is basically, I think, the force with the floor. And then the angular is the rotation. So we'll see if this stops the coins from spinning. Oh, there we go. Did you notice that? There was the smallest spin. Watch. Okay, there was a tiny bit of spin, so I'm going to adjust that to 0.4. I'm going to do that to 0.5 then. Right, so we changed the capsule collider. So basically, we just need to go into the prefabs, swap out the box collider for a capsule collider. I'm hoping if I copy that, can I? exclude characters. Exclude characters. Remove the box collider. And then it's 11.5 XZ. 11.5 XZ. 11.5 XZ. One 1.5 XZ. Exclude characters. 11.5 XZ. One 1.5 XZ. Save. Right, that should all be good now. So all of these have a capsule collider, so we're not going to have that issue where the loot spawns and if it's a box collider it just sits on its side. So what this is going to do, it's going to sit nicely with the environment. And then the rigid body that handles the rotation. So what we'll do is we'll play this maximized and we'll just slay a load of skeletons. Here we go! Oh, that is cool. Seeing that gem spin. Okay. Right, I see the problem with the capsule collider because it's curved. It's making those models. We basically need to raise the capsule collider. So it's, yeah, that's fine. But everything is getting a random rotation. Yeah, can you see how high the bones are off of the floor there? The coin went flying off the side of him there. That is such a nice effect. I love how it just kind of jumps out from them when they die. I want to get the blood ruby. The blood ruby has a 1% chance of spawning. It is very much Diablo. It does feel like Diablo 2 loot. You know, anyone that's played Diablo 2, the original, where you're slaying hundreds of enemies and the loot just... It's a proper loot fest. I am very happy with that though. That looks so, so cool. Right. Let's sort out the things. So we need to get the capsule collider. So if I go orthographic and that one, we get the capsule collider, and what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that it's kind of right in line there. So on the Y, we're going to, whoa. Okay. Okay, so 0.295. 0.295, and as you can see, that is the thing that's stopping it from going into the world. So 0.295. 0.295, so that's bone stack done. 0.295. God, it's really hard to see that line. I think going by that line, that's basically, yeah, that looks good. Okay, let's coin stack now for this one. Hold on a minute. Why is that one? What the fudge is going on with that? Oh, that one's perfect. Right, let's just check all of them. So that's good. That's good. That's good. Why has that gone up? I don't understand why that's getting changed. That's really annoying. I'm saving the prefabs as I'm making those changes. Enter. Save. Save. Oh, now it's done it. Why was it being a dick? Right, now that we've sorted out the capsule colliders, sorry, now that we've adjusted the position of those capsule colliders, what we should have is an actual what is it? We should have a proper. The loot should basically be on the floor. Where is that gem disappearing to? Oh, I know why it's doing that. It's because the items are stacking on top of each other. I'm not sure why the gems are falling through. Like the topazes are staying, but the emerald. Oh, the emerald stayed there that time. Okay. So what we should do is give the prefabs a layer of loot. And then what we can do is we can exclude Okay. So if I give the prefabs the layer loot, then in the capsule collider I can exclude that, which will mean loot will not sit on top of each other, because that's what's happening. It would, the only thing that capsule collider's ignoring is characters, so enemies and NPCs and the player basically. So if I give it if I just give them all a layer, add layer, and we'll call this loot. And then go back there and choose loot. And then in the exclude, we're going to exclude characters and loot. Characters and loot. So that's the bone stack. Just save that. Go into the coin stack. Give the coin stack the loot layer. Exclude loot. Yeah. And then go into the blood ruby. Layer loot. Exclude loot. Emerald. Loot. Exclude loot. Topaz. Loot. Exclude loot. Save, and then we'll just go through and check that. So loot, yeah, good. Loot, loot, yeah. Loot, 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 loot. Sorry, the reason why I'm double checking is because as you saw me making those adjustments to the capsule collider and it not saving the changes, I'm just making sure that the changes I just made have actually remained. So the next test is to go through. We're going to play the same again, and we're going to check that the bones don't levitate. And I'm 99% certain they were doing that because they were sitting on top of the collider of another object. Okay. I know why that's not happening. The main camera needs to render loot. I'm pretty sure why that's why it wasn't showing. So we render the loot, and then if I go onto minimap, where's the minimap camera? So the minimap won't show loot or characters, that's good. Okay, that should now work. There wasn't a bug, it was basically in the reason the loot wasn't showing was because in the main camera, the culling mask, the loot was a new layer, so we needed to include that. So that should now display correctly. So let's just test. Provided this works, we can then get the loot when we walk over the coins to start that adding to the player's wealth. Okay. Let's change the mass to 0.5 and see what change that does. I think that affects gravity. Pretty sure it does. So what we're checking is we want the loot to be spaced out. I'm still not sure why some gems are falling through the world. They shouldn't be doing that. I'm not too sure on why they're just disappearing. Whoa! Oh my god! Okay, interesting that they're now being clustered together. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back in there and I'm going to put the mass at 0.8. That definitely affects the gravity. Now, the spacing apart frees the rotation. We're not stopping it from being moved. Linear dampening. Okay, maybe we need to put the linear dampening down to 0.5. Pretty sure, because the description here, a value that determines how quickly the rigid body loses velocity over time, simulating drag. The angular drag, or damping, sorry, is the rotation. So if we were to change the linear damping to 0.5, because they're not getting spaced out like I want them to. Let's see how this looks. Where's the coins gone? Oh, I see. I think I know what's happening. I think the bones are pushing. They're pushing the object beneath it through the floor. I think that's what's happening. Oh, interesting. Didn't do it that time. Because we know the coins always drop. You can see them in there. That just spawned a topaz. Okay, so we kind of solved one problem, but now we've created another. Hmm. Why were they not? What's annoying me is they were spacing out. I'm wondering if me changing... Hmm. Hmm. It's a bit of a tricky one, this, really, because actually, hold on a second, I've got a solution. Get rid of loot. I know I've given it the layer loot. I need a sip of my coffee, guys. If I was to just reduce the size of this so it's actually within the boundary of that. I mean, would a mesh collider be better here? If I had a mesh collider, it would be... I'm just wondering... I think that would be better, a mesh collider, because the problem with the capsule collider is it's curved, so it's just being a pain in the arse. Whereas with a mesh collider, it's going to be to the mesh, so that way there should be no problem. So mesh collider, exclude characters, remove the capsule collider. Go into the coin stack. Hey dude, thanks for tuning in. Are you asking for my help with something, or? Exclude characters. Right, let's just check all those prefabs. So we've removed the capsule collider, put in a mesh collider. Okay. Right, so let's test that this now thing should hopefully work a lot better. Oh, for fuck's sake. Why is it going through the world? Why are you going through the world? Concave mesh colliders are not supported when used with dynamic rigid game objects. Oh, okay. Let's just do that then. Right, let's try that. Let's go, baby! Let's go! Fuck's sake, why has it gone through the world? God damn it. It's as if it's forcing it through the world. Damn, this is annoying. I'm literally on the verge of finishing this. Why are you disappearing? See, it didn't do it there. It's not done it there. Now the bones have disappeared. What the fuck? At least the concave mesh collider is literally to the shape of the model. And I'm not sure why. Why is some objects going through the world? How annoying. I know I can solve this. Linear dampening was 0. Right, I'm going to put this back to 0. I'm really not sure why some objects are getting pushed through the world. Really bizarre. So that linear dampening, that should allow the objects to actually space apart. Really annoying that they shouldn't be pushed through the world. I don't know why. What the fuck? For fuck's sake. I mean, they've all got their pros and cons with the different colliders. Going straight through the world. Why? Oh, dude. Right, let's just do... This is just like a tweaking exercise at the moment. I'm going to go a bit crazy here. Right, what that's going to do is it should space them apart. This is puzzling me, guys. Puzzle fest. The box collider did work nicely, but the issue we were having You know what? I feel like we might have to put that box collider back on. It's annoying. It's very annoying. We got this. So the capsule collider, I mean this box collider seemed to be the best, but the only issue was with the box kind of landing on its side. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, that's the first. Loot on the wall. Why is it still going through the floor? I think we're going to have to set the rigid body back to default, which was 1, 0. Now if we do 0.9 and 0.1, I'm going to turn off the rotation there. So 0.9, 0.1. Let's try this. When we first put this in, all the loot was spawning. It was working really nice. Why did that emerald just disappear? I really don't know why the loot is going through the floor. Why is the loot going through the floor? Why is it doing that? Why? See, the bones just disappeared. They stayed there. I mean, okay, I would say we're pretty much done. It's just a bug fix with the loot going through the floor for some reason. It's really annoying. Okay, we're back to happy stage. We're back to the happy stage where, look, the gem stayed that time. Interesting. Whoa. Okay, I'm happy now. I'm happy that we're back at this part where the loot is there, but there is something going on causing it to some of it to fall through the world. I really don't know what's causing that. Oh, is there another skeleton? Oh no, it's there. See? I'm pretty sure the bones and the gem just disappeared. But we have got the really strange. Not sure why it's doing that, guys. Oh, you cheeky bugger. tell you what, this is a lot of fun. Just watching the loot pop out from the enemies and just cover the floor. Look, it stayed that time. Okay, so I'm going to add that to a bug fix. So bug fix, loot spawn, sometimes falls through terrain. I'm going to put that as a kind of urgent one because that's very, very strange. Oh, it's very strange why it's doing that. Right, so what we're going to do then, whilst the last step of this stream was to get the coins to basically disappear. When the player passes through the trigger of the coin, it's meant to add to the integer. So we need to go into the collection manager and we're gonna get a enter trigger. On trigger enter. Get the name. If oh, I don't want to have a script for every object. When we enter the coins, if we enter the trigger, So basically, it's checking. Maybe I'm going to need to have a script for each individual that's really annoying. I was hoping that the collection manager would be able to handle everything in one script. But then, oh, hold on a minute. No, I can. Why am I panicking? On trigger event. Oh, fuck me. What's it called? What's it called? Coin. Object variable. Loot. Coin stack. Game object. Coin stack. So the collection manager. I was having a panic then. I don't know why I was panicking. So when the player tag player. Right, so when we enter the trigger of a coin stack, we need to get player gold, set player gold, and then we need to get object variable, from there. No. The object variable of the coin stack, which is value. Get the value get value, and we know that that's going to be an integer. So we basically add. So we're adding those together. And then that is basically being set there. So we're saying when the player enters the trigger of the loot stack, the coins, we're comparing a tag that is the player that's collided. If that's true, we're setting the scene variable, which is player gold. It's an integer. So we're diving into getting the variable of the coin stack, and then we're adding it to the player gold, and then we're setting it. And then what we'll do is we'll get an integer to string, just to check that it's working, because we don't have anything on the UI yet to we don't have anything on the UI to show gold count, so this is why we're doing a debug like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to play focused, and we should get a message at the bottom left on that black bar. Fingers crossed, guys. Pray for me, baby. Oh, I've just realised something. Oh my god. Right, now we can do that. Why is that? We know in the loot manager. Oh, this is puzzling me. That should work. I'm not sure. It's been created. The value has been set. Variable not found loot coin stack. That's not what I'm choosing. That's the problem. I mean, that's an object reference. Let's see if that works. I mean, we're literally saying... I don't know why that's not working. What does it mean it's not found? I don't even know if it's going to let me do this. I have no idea if that's going to work. May or may not. Let's just keep our fingers crossed. This is ridiculous. I'm literally there. Right, I've put it on the bug list to fix the loot that's disappearing into the floor, guys. I'm not sure why this has been a bit of a bastard for me. Right, now it's completely... mate. Oh, I didn't want to have to do this, but it's winding me up. We're gonna have to create a script. we're going to have to create a script. Right. I didn't want to have loads of different scripts for every single item in the game. You can imagine the amount of items that will eventually be introduced to the game. That is a lot of scripts. Like, crazy. But that should work. We might have to get rid of the collection manager then. Okay, so what's happening in the loot manager? It spawns the coin stack and it will set the value of the coins, the variable value. So what we're expecting to happen is when we run into the coins, it will add to our wealth. Or it should do. Right, we've got 34 at the bottom there, guys. 68, okay, it's working. See at the bottom there, 84 now. 114, right, that's working. We're accumulating gold. So we need to have a little sound effect for when the gold's collected. And you see the bottom left there, the integers is working. Hey, I just killed you. Oh look, we've got an emerald drop there, guys. Okay, it's working. So I guess the next stage would be to have like a kind of UI panel for the items when you're walking over it, and then you'd have something like, somehow I'd need to plan if the player's looking at the item, like, you know, how they're able to loot it. So I know there's a bug with these items going through the floor. Not sure what is causing it, but it is on the list, guys. It is on the bug fix list. Oh my god, bro. You can see at the moment we're at 355 gold. Coins just... Why are they going through the floor? $386 gold. Getting a lot of these gems drop. Look at that, all the topazes. I think we had an emerald somewhere as well, didn't we? There it is. Okay, that's working perfectly. I really didn't want to have to do a script just for the... My original plan was to have the one main script that handled all the loot in one, but I think we're just going to have to go item by item and end up with a lot of scripts, but I'm keeping the naming consistent. So if we just come out of there, I think I can get rid of the collection manager, and we need to delete the collection manager script. So collection manager, and then if we go into the scripts, it's the collection manager. So collection manager, get rid of that. It's a bit annoying, but it is what it is. So what is it on about? Oh. It's because I... Stack. Right, what we'll do, I think we're getting that error because I got rid of the script. So I'm going to remove the script machine from the bone stack. The coin pile has the loot thing there. This is the blood ruby. Remove that. Remove that. Remove that. Remove that. Remove that. Remove that. Save. Come out of there. Save. Close. Open up again. So if we come into our prefabs, so we shouldn't be getting that. We'll just do one more test, guys. Look at the loot. Is that 3 topazes? Mate, that's a 25% drop chance. That's not bad, is it? Orange Jesus has blessed us today. We're at 1, 2, 3. Bottom left there. You see that, guys? You should be able to see. That is the debug code just to say how much money we've accumulated. So when we implement the inventory, we'll have like a gold counter on the player's inventory. Got an emerald there. Okay, I'm very happy with that, guys. The loot is spawning. It jumps out of the enemy like I wanted. We need a sound effect for coins being collected so the player knows that they've gathered some. Not sure why they're disappearing through the floor though. I really don't know what's causing that. So one thing I've just noticed, I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure when the cultists die, their health bar disappears. I'm feeling we should do the same for the skeleton, so when it's dead their health bar will disappear. So that's not a bug fix, that's a development decision. So I think it will look better and consistent with the other enemies. I will add that to the list. I am going to call the stream there. We have achieved what we set out to do. This is a full-on loot fest. Look at that graveyard. Let's get a screenshot, shall we? I'm going to call the stream there, guys. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Anyone watching, if you haven't already, feel free to follow on Twitch if you want to stay up to date and see more game dev. I will be building on this game and adding lots more cool stuff. Modelling, adding new enemies, tons and tons of stuff planned. So feel free to follow. Go check out my YouTube as well if you want to see previous game dev streams. I've got stuff for Unity, Blender and the Unreal Engine. And if you want to play this game, you can go to my itch channel below, and this is called Sword and Scourge. So you can play the version 1.0 and follow an interesting quest line. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys in the next stream.